Hello, welcome everyone to another episode of our testimonial videos. And my name is Si Win Yi from the Year Real Estate Network. And once again, we welcome Julie and Mark, and welcome back. We've been doing a lot of videos in the past couple of years, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to document your real estate journey. And so today we have several modules, several topics to talk about. And first of all, I'm going to I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to go through the two properties that you guys closed escrow just very recently. So if you don't mind, hopefully you can see the slideshow clearly. Okay. So in each of these pro forma, just talk like 7 to 8 minutes. That's it, from a high level. And my projected numbers are documented right here. And we'll talk about both of the properties. The first one, I think the first one is 29
Columbia,
and the second one was 1951 Walnut or something.
Whitney.
So, anyway, okay. Anyway,
Although we do have one on Walnut too.
Yeah, so I want you to share this pro forma, if you will, this cash flow projection, which I did prior to you closing escrow. These numbers are just an approximate projection. They're not 100% correct. So briefly, I know this is your as we work together, and this is your fifth and sixth rental properties you have purchased out of state. So so from a high level, please go over. Okay, in fact, let me start with this property. This property, I'm not sure which one is it. Is it 29?
Oh, this is Columbia, 29 Columbia.
Columbia. Okay. So this property, a couple of months ago, you evaluated this property with Caleb Kanazi, and this property is priced at $68,500, and my projection was based on 7% mortgage rate, 30-year mortgage. You put 25% down payment on a regular financing, and then, so therefore your down payment is around $17,000 plus closing costs a few more $1,000, somewhere around $20,000 total. This $68,500 single family rental property in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, New York, and the projected rent is $975 minus vacancy factor minus your monthly taxes $195, insurance, property management fee $96, and I even factor in the vacancy factor of typically around 2%, and also I even incorporated the maintenance percentage, any maintenance repair cost that you have to incur on every year, and I projected a 3% appreciation rate. So at the end of the day, you're able to leverage through this property financing. At the end of the day, you have a approximately monthly cash flow of $224, monthly net cash flow, and even with a relatively higher mortgage rate than we would want to pay. The bottom line is you still achieve cash flow. And if you look at, I'm not going to go over the numerical formulas on the upper right hand corner, but the upper right hand corner, the rent to cash value, rent to value ratio is very, is above the benchmark, the capitalization rate, and also above the industry real estate benchmark, and the total ROI, return on investments, the whole 9 yards. So the numbers to me looks good. So this projection is based on the first year projection. We don't know the second, third to 10th year and beyond, but suffice to say, things should look pretty progressively good down the road. So with that in mind, can you, from a high level, you or Mark, kind of briefly go over, why you buy this property, how did you decide ultimately to buy the property based on the yield, based on the return, and then what was your experience, what the rental situation is going to be, and the rehab situation, and the inspection report. From a high level, spend about 5 or 7 minutes to go over this property. Then we can go over the second property that you just.
Oh, sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll start. I'll kind of look at the numbers, like you have the pro forma in front of us. And basically, when I look at a property, I look for three main numbers. I already know what my goals are. I already know how much I can afford to spend on each property. So I first look at the price, which in this case was 68,500. That was within my range for a single family home. I usually like to get somewhere in between 50 to 70, not more than 75,000 on a single family for myself and what we're looking to do. So this one fell right in with what our goal was. Then I look at, as he said, we put down 25%, estimate the closing costs, and cash invested the 23,125. Then that's got to line up with the amount of cash that we have for a down payment, which in this case it did. So that was the second line that I look at. The third line, which is on the right side, as I'm looking at it, and it says cash flow of $224.40. So as long as that number is in a plus, that makes me a happy camper. So those are like the first three things I look at. I like to get $224, even with a 7% interest rate, which I mean it's not incredibly high. It's higher than obviously what the interest rates have been for the last several months or couple of years. But to be able to get that cash flow, and when I reference cash flow, basically meaning all of our expenses are covered, the management fee, the mortgage, whatever, Seawing estimated out what the management fee was, the vacancy rate even, the maintenance percentage, things like that. After all that, we're still getting cash flow of $224. So that works for me. That works for me. So that was one of the reasons why I began to look at this property. Then, once I decide, okay, this is something that I want to investigate, then I will contact the turnkey representative, which in this case is Caleb Kanazi, through Buffalo Turnkey Properties. And then I'll begin to ask him questions about the condition of the property. Is there someone in it? How long have they been in it? Have they been paying their rent on time? In this case, this property, actually both the properties were vacant, which I'm kind of liking that because then we get the tenant nice and fresh and, then that's our tenant. So I'll just ask him several questions and basic questions, condition of the roof, any major problems, how old is the electric, the furnace, the water, those things that can go wrong. And, if it sounds like it's a go, then we'll go and then we'll work it out. And my husband and I, like I said, we've done this now. This is our fifth and sixth property. So one thing I realized, it gets easier and easier each time you do it. Yeah. I will say on all the properties, this is the one I have the least amount of notes on, because I always keep a conversation log. I probably have the least amount of notes on. My notebook is probably thinner because I'm saving less paperwork. I always put everything in a binder. And it's like once you do the first couple, the second, third, fourth, 20th, whatever, it gets to be much easier because you know the system, the people. We're working with the same set of people each time. In this case, in upstate New York, with Buffalo Turnkey, and it works really well, And then whatever little repairs that were required, they've been very consistent in getting those fixed before we close the escrow, and it just works for us. Yeah. Okay. And then Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me follow up our question. Then you were able to get a loan through my Wells Fargo loan agent,
correct?
Ian Dornfeld. Just so you know, you people out there, out in the YouTube world and watching this video, it's very, very rare to have a lender who is willing to finance such a low purchase price property. Most lenders, they're not willing to do a small loan like this, but because you're part of our network and all the system that I put in place over the years, I'm able to have a network loan agent from Wells Fargo, Ian Dornfeld, that he's willing to do a small loan. So, if you buy this kind of property anywhere else in the country, you will be hard pressed to find a lender that willing to finance this kind of loan. So that's part of the power of leverage. Then you go to the appraisal. I assume the lender was able to appraise the property according to the initial list price. I assume that went well, and then after that, you have to do the inspection report. You pay for the inspection, and then after that you close escrow. So walk me through briefly going through the appraisal, going through the lending, then going through the health report and the ultimate closing, and
Right.
how the property management get the renter in. That would be the final piece of the closing process. Walk us through about the whole scenario.
Right. Well, as far as for the appraisal, again, the reason that you get an appraisal, if you've never bought a house before, the lender is the one that requires the appraisal when they're going to loan money out, because they want to make sure that what we are paying for the property is what the property is worth. So, if we're paying $70,000 for a property and it only appraises at 60,000, most likely they're not going to lend on it. So in our case, both of them came right in line. I think one of them, I forget which one, came in about, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 over what we were paying for it. So that's always nice to walk into a property with built-in equity. But so those things appraise, and then we go ahead and move forward with the inspection. That's a critical piece too, because we are in California. These properties are in New York. I'm not flying out every 2 weeks to see how they look or how the progress is. In fact, I've never been to New York, so I've never seen any of these properties face to face. But the inspection is our eyes and ears. He goes in, the inspector rather. He goes in and he will look at everything from top to bottom. Everything. He takes photos of everything, and I think that's where I really rely on my husband to go over the inspection reports with me, and he may want to share a little bit more about that because he's a safety inspector. That's what he does. He's a construction safety inspector, so it's very important to him. He can see things with a more critical eye, honey. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Mark.
Yeah. I mean, you're hitting it pretty good. I like the guy that does inspections. What is his name? Mike?
Oh, Chris McDonald.
Chris, I'm sorry. Yeah, Chris McDonald. Chris does a really fantastic job, and he's very thorough. So we really like that about him, and then also beyond that, Caleb, he's been really, really good with us about fixing all the things that Chris McDonald finds, with his findings, and so we like that a lot as well. But no, you're doing a great job talking about it. So please carry on.
Yeah. These kind of properties in the Buffalo Turnkey, they they're very, very old properties. Sometimes they're like 70 to 100 years old, but they over the years, this kind of property has been rehabbed, updated, they've gone through a lot of different type of rehabs over the years.
Right.
So the actual inspection report, I mean, you have to finalize some minor items that need to be fixed. Can you say a little bit about that?
There were some, like I said, some minor things. I think the things that we focus on are like the safety things. If there's an electrical problem, if there's a plumbing problem or things like that. One thing we did ask, they had an older water heater in one of them, and we did ask Caleb to replace it, and he did. And that was really nice. So he didn't charge us any extra for that or whatever. Safety things, if there's leaking water or whatever, those are some of the kind of things that we wanted. Even there were actually a couple of small trees that were pushing up against one of the properties, and Mark had asked them to remove those, and they did. So that was nice, so that that way it won't create a long-term problem. So they've been very accommodating for us, pretty much in anything. And like I said, some stuff is minor. Every once in a while we'll have like a cracked window or something. They'll be more than happy to replace it. Handrails, they get older, they, are falling apart, shaky, so they'll replace those, with stairs and things like that. So I can't think of anything else major, actually, with these properties. They were pretty minor.
Okay, after the inspection report, then you are about to close escrow. Then how did their in-house property management, how they gone through the process of getting the tenant for this property?
Oh, this is great. So one of them, is it Whitney or Columbia? Columbia already had a tenant. They were able to find it during the escrow process. They were able to find a tenant and put them in there. So we do have one of them. Before we actually closed, we had one tenant in there. And then they were following up the following Sunday to do an open house for the second property. So I haven't talked to him yet, but because since we just closed these on Friday, I think. It was Friday the 13th. So good luck day for us. So yeah, so we keep in touch with him, and they're very forthcoming in getting that process done. I mean, from what I understand, there is such a high need for rental property. Anytime they put an ad out there or whatever that they're renting, they get tons of people wanting to. So it's nice. I mean, they get more applications that they can handle. They can go through and really kind of get the cream of the crop so that they are making sure to the best of their ability that they're getting a tenant that's going to pay the rent. Because when you're a landlord or when you're an investor, all you're concerned about is are they going to pay they're going to take care of the place. So it does give them that option to be able to do that and go through and get the best of the best.
Yeah, so that's very, very good to hear. Yeah. So yeah, there was so it seems like a seamless experience and transaction for you guys. That everything went according to plan, huh?
It really did. It really did. I mean, like I said, I think I spent less time focusing on this. Once I get the inspection report back and we really kind of get through those, I don't really worry about too much else because we worked with the same lender, the same rep, Ian Dornfield at Wells Fargo, and his team is very efficient. You know, everything is done through the computer. And then the only thing we have to actually manually do is when the loan documents come, we have to take them to a notary, you know, to have them signed in front of a notary. But everything else runs through the computer, so it runs very, very smoothly.
Yeah, then you did the closing with the closing attorney that they refer to you, right?
Well, actually, we use our own. Yeah, because again, we're here in California. Now, you can go to a Wells Fargo, any Wells Fargo, and they will notarize the documents and have them done. We've actually never used Wells to do it because you always have to make an appointment and they are always busy, which is not a bad thing, I guess, if they're busy. But we have our own attorney here that did our living trust. So we've used her. And then for those of you guys that don't know, UPS always has a notary on staff. So this last time we used UPS to go ahead and do those. So it's nice. You know, we just go through, and I would say we've gone through the documents several times. They all read the same. The property value changes and the mortgage amount changes, but everything else reads pretty much the same. So we've gotten pretty good at getting through them pretty quickly.
Okay, very good, very good. Then at the same time, you did two closing at the same time, so which is very, very courageous and very ambitious. I mean, most people having trouble just to do one rental property closing. You did two. You bought two at the same time. So this second property you bought almost similar in price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, you know, it's so funny. He and I, we were able to actually negotiate that down a little bit. So it went from 73.5. He gave it to us for 67.5. So it was very similar to the other one. I think the other one was 68.5. So the numbers again are going to look very similar, even if it's 73.5, which you have on your pro forma. The numbers read very much the same. And again, I'm looking at, as I said earlier, the price. You know, how much I'm paying for it, how much initial cash, which is very similar to the other one. Again, at 7% interest rate, and then the cash flow on this one was showing 255. So those are the three numbers I look at. Once I get that, then I'll go forward and I'll start contacting Caleb for more information.
Yeah. So anything new on the second property in terms of appraisal, inspection report, getting the tenant in and closing and all that? Anything different?
Everything, like I said, went exactly the same as the other one. It was so interesting too that they were so closely in price because I think the hardest thing was making sure I was like signing the documents for the right one because the price, the down payment, pretty much everything was exactly the same. So, but no, I mean, like I said, Wells Fargo does a very good job of keeping track of it. And if once you're in their system, you can see which property you're working with because it'll tell you if it's the Whitney property or the Columbia property. So it's very easy to follow through. And like I said, once you've done it a few times, it's just like anything else. You know, your learning curve improves and you can kind of move through it quickly. So yeah, both of them are really both the same.
Yeah, yes, good to hear. So this is a one-stop shop. They have all the network, all the people, on a systematic basis, help you every step of the way. So it's a seamless transaction. You did it remotely, you did it passively, and now you guys you just closed these two escrow a few days ago, actually. So this is your fifth and sixth property. I mean, you have in a span of a little bit less than 2 years, you have uh, before that, you never had any kind of real estate investing experience prior to 2 years ago. Now,
Yeah.
you guys are the proud owner of a very large real estate portfolio consisting of 6 rental property. Some of them are single family homes, some of them are duplexes in the Buffalo Niagara Falls area. So I really congratulate you on that. You guys are,
Thank you.
yeah, amazing action plan and a lot of courage, a lot of commitment. The next question I'm going to ask you, that segue into our next module for the next second module we can discuss, is that, it's strange, a lot of people who never done real estate investing, they, they think what you have, the kind of experience you just gone through is like, is too good to be true. How can you buy these kind of cheap properties, much older properties, out of state 2,000 miles away, and you're able to scale the portfolio with such a low down payment, and the returns are so high, and a property that's turnkey, that's been rehabbed and fixed up by this turnkey provider, and the renter is put in place. And it really, to any kind of people that are watching this video, they think this is too good to be true. I mean, how could this, how could this be so perfect, almost perfect? So quickly, what are you guys' thoughts of how to
I would give my husband that one because I think he was a little skeptical in the beginning, and I think kind of had that, this is too good to be true mindset. So I'll let you take that, Mark.
Well, yeah, in the beginning, I didn't. I had a hard time because I didn't know if it was a scam or I mean, it was too good to be true. But I think that being said, I had to trust my wife and that she did her due diligence to do her homework, and you gotta pull the trigger. As an old boss mentor of mine used to tell me, pull the trigger. You gotta step out there, and I think also it has a lot to do with mindset as well. Also, I've always had to get up and go to work. Get up and go to work mentality, in the sense that I work, hourly for every dime that I make. So I didn't understand the capitalistic mindset where you buy something or you invest and you have your money paying you back. I think that there are a lot of people that don't understand that. And so, but now that I can see, and then, well, I also had to realize too. I mean, we took this course through PCC, your course. So you went through PCC, right. And then you became our mentor. I says, well, gosh, I mean, I don't think PCC is gonna have somebody working for them that does bad business. So all that stuff had to, had to make sense for me. But now here we are, property number 6, and I'm looking back, and it's like I've always said, it's been seamless. It's been awesome. I think the greatest thing is that the growth, and watching the snowball effect. I'm really excited, and I can't wait to buy more. I can see this need now to continue the process. So yeah. It's worth it. It is definitely worth it.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I love the word snowball effect.
Yes. And cash flow absolutely is king. That part too.
That's right. That's the title of my video, my earlier YouTube video. Cash flow
absolutely.
is king. Cash flow is king. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I look at the, and a lot of people probably don't understand, but when I say snowball effect, Julie and I have been looking at our net worth, and I never really understood that side of it, so now here we are with these 6 properties, and then plus they're growing in equity. Now we have what we didn't have before. Now we have a net worth, and that's exciting, and so I can see light at the end of the tunnel. I very well may be on track to retire in the next 5 years, and then we'll be doing this full time, and we're also at a point now to where the properties are not only paying for themselves, but they're paying us. We're making a positive cash flow, and all 6, are able, or what we have this far, they're able to buy another property, and so it's self-sustaining basically,
right?
And so, and you can't beat that in just a short period of time. It's not even been a full 2 years, and here we are. So when people talk about, you don't get rich overnight, but at the rate we're going, it's going pretty good. We're well on our way, to being very well off in our retirement years.
Awesome. I'm very, very glad to hear. Let me share with you some other a lot of people, they're gonna watch our videos. They're gonna say to themselves, "Wow, I mean, how could someone achieve real estate success buying a property so far away?" Number one. Number two, buying such an older properties in a neighborhood you never physically saw. Some of those negativity that's going to come out of people. They're going to say, maybe the tenant is going to trash your property, or the tenant is going to have too many tenants. They're going to trash your house, or the house over time, the next 2 years. What if the property is going to break down? You need a roof replacement, a boiler replaced. So all the actual maintenance costs on old houses will eat up all your profit. So how do you address this the misconception out there?
Just the concept of buying an old home. A lot of people might say, "Oh, well, that's an old home, and it's old and whatever, it's falling apart, or what if." But my wife and I, we've always talked about old homes versus new. And living where we live in Southern California, city of Pasadena is filled with old homes. So we already know that old homes are, they're built better than new. So a lot of craftsmanship, went into homes, better craftsmanship, really good craftsmanship. It went into old homes 100 years ago. They were built better. Some of the materials that went into these homes were better. The people that built these homes, that they built them during a time when people took a lot of pride, took a lot of care in their work. So really, when you get an old home, the inner workings of the home and the foundation are actually, I think, better than what you would get in something that's new. Okay. So a lot of the homes that we see being built today, well, what will they look like 50 years, 70 years from now? How will they hold up?
Good point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, very, very good point. As a matter of fact, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area for the past more than 30 years now. And a lot of homes in the city of San Francisco, close by, is built at the turn of the century, and they're doing fine. And a lot of the homes that are located in Oakland, close to where I live, in the East Bay, there's most of the homes of either 70 to 100 years old, but there's still, people still live in these kind of homes.
Right.
They're still doing well. So the takeaway for me is, buying out of state is very risky if you don't know what you're doing, if you do not have a good team you can trust. people over the years, I've heard a lot of horror stories about people being scammed, or people did out-of-state investors have did very badly because they try to buy out-of-state on their own. They don't have a turnkey team to help them. They do not have a good, reliable property manager, and they bought in a wrong neighborhood and high crimes and all kind of nightmare stories. So that happens a lot. So it's important to work with a team you can trust on the ground that have been doing it for a long time.
Yes.
That are very ethical. They are very, very transparent. They do a good job. So you guys are very lucky to run across our team, my network, the Year Real Estate Network, in Buffalo Turnkey. So yeah, so that is so important. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, I think for me, having a solid property manager, which ABC property manager who is connected with the Buffalo Turnkey, they are very efficient. They're very clear. Just anything, and they've been very clear. If there's a repair that's more than $500, they will contact us. Which is great, because I don't want you to call me if you're replacing a light bulb or I don't know, a smoke detector. That's what you're getting paid to do, but if it's something much bigger. And then I would say the properties we've had the longest, with our first purchases, we haven't had any repair issues in about the year and a half that we've owned those. So, like I said, I expect little things with older homes. I live in an older home that was built in the 40s, built in the 40s, and stuff comes up. We just had to pay a plumber to come and snake our drain whatever the other day. But that's just part of it. And we expect that. So we're not like, oh my God, what do you mean you had to call a plumber? We understand that things like that happen. And that's why you have a solid team property management team to do that. So that helps me sleep at night. No one is calling me at 3 a.m. saying like my toilet broke. So that's why we pay the property manager, and they're worth it, to do what they do. So
that's right. Very, very good. So let's go from a high level, from my perspective, as I review your 6 property portfolio. I know what I hear you saying. You guys are potentially want to retire in the next 5 to 7 years, and you can use a significant amount of the passive income from your real estate portfolio to as much as possible to offset your W-2 income, whatever you can do. So I know everybody's retirement goals are different. Some have a shorter term, some have a longer term retirement goal. So you guys are able to scale your portfolio, maximize the money you have available to an average down payment of 20 grand. So per property. So you guys could easily go to Florida and buy a single family home, brand new construction for $350,000 and $2,500. No problem. You can get cash flow on that one property. New construction in Florida somewhere, which I promote also. But your situation is different. You want to put the minimal down payment on a higher cash flow real estate portfolio so you can achieve passive income retirement sooner. So yeah, some people, they rather buy a $350,000 rental property, single family home, brand new, and cash flow just a little bit. But for $350,000, they have to put a total down payment of 80 grand, which is nothing wrong with that because they have a longer time horizon to retire, 20 years, whatever. You got a shorter time retirement, so you guys need more cash flow. So you guys want to maximize the amount of down payment money you have instead of buying one rental property costing $350,000, you're buying in the equivalent for 5 different property at 70 grand, $75,000. And actually more cash flow. So
exactly.
So everybody's situation is different, but you're doing the right thing for giving your goals. Now, let me do a follow-up question. So, as your real estate portfolio continue to grow, are you going to buy more property for the short-term foreseeable future? You guys keep on scaling. So there are many different ways to retire using with a real estate portfolio. You could I want to understand what is your vision for your retirement in the next 5 to 7 years, for example. Now, some people in your situation, they want to pay off their mortgages, like they can accelerate their loan, pay one extra principal per month, extra principal per month to accelerate and pay off the 30-year fixed rate mortgage into 7 years.
Right.
In about 5 years, you can use all your cash flows from all your 6 properties or more to pay one extra principal payment, and you be mortgage debt free in about 7 years, and
Right.
live off all the rental income you have. Or you can there's so many different ways
Right.
to work your real estate portfolio. Or another strategy you could have is to you already have gained a pretty significant amount of equity, even in Buffalo in the past few years, 10, 20, 30% appreciation. Very, very lucky, but we don't, but there's an additional bonus you did not anticipate. So you can very well in the next few years cash out, refinance some of the equity from your existing houses,
right,
and leverage and buy more properties.
Right. Absolutely.
And another exit strategies, if you will, is to what else? And to just live off the rental income and continue to appreciate with the equity. So
right.
Do you have an exit strategy?
I think I'm just listening to what you're saying. I think it's somewhat, in my mind, a combination right now, because when we ended up paying off our credit card debt, we did the snowball effect. We paid the smallest one, and then we continued to pay the largest one. So that's kind of how I anticipate paying off the mortgages. Take the smallest one, pay, like you said, use the extra payment each month, or the extra principal payment each month, because these aren't large loans. They're not very large loans at all. And again, once those are paid off, then about 90% of what we're getting in rent will come to us. And so that's a way to help him retire. And then we're also, our goal is to save as much of the rental income as we can, and then use that money to go ahead and buy more properties. So it's kind of like a hybrid of what you're saying, basically.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, good to hear. Very good to hear. Mark, do you have anything to add in terms of the potential different options and different exit strategies on your portfolio you can do in the next 5 to 7 years? Mark, what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't see us exiting anything. I see us just continuing to do what we're doing. We would like to, look at the teams that you have set up in Alabama. We've been talking about that. Florida. I guess we'll have to save a little bit more money for that. So, in due time, that will come. But to be honest, we're quite comfortable in New York with Caleb and his team.
Right.
We love his attitude. They're professional, so friendly, integrity. They've been nothing but good to us, and so no need to fix it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
exactly.
We'll just keep moseying right along. We do want to make plans to fly out to New York to meet them personally and to see the properties in person. We would like to do that. We're not planning on knocking on any doors or ringing any doorbells while we're there, but just to see, what we have purchased and what we're doing. We're actually looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, that's good. As we are almost completing this video presentation, from a high level, I'm going to recap something. You've been watching my videos on your newsletters for a while. My recap is this: income property is one of the world's greatest wealth building vehicle. Is a very prudent asset class, is a multi-dimensional asset class, because there are 5 ways you can make money on rental properties, income properties, that most asset class historically cannot even match. And those 5 ways are you get cash flow income, you get equity appreciation. The tenant will do a mortgage pay down on your 30-year mortgage rate, and then you get tax benefits. And what else? that that pretty much covers it. Okay, I mean, leverage. You get the leverage on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, and which is amazing. Tax benefits. You get rental increases.
Right.
When the inflation increases,
that's a good point.
You can raise your rent on a systematic basis. So in the future, you can have even more rental income, and your tenant gonna pay off all your debts. They're gonna each of your tenant in each property will make you rich. The tenant will pay down your mortgage. The tenant gonna pay off monthly, gonna pay off your expenses, your taxes, your insurance, your property management fee, your maintenance cost, your upkeep, your vacancy factor. The tenant is doing all that for you. They are doing all the heavy lifting. So over time, long term, your rental portfolio you can achieve more rental income due to inflation, and the equity will grow. Who knows, 3 to 5% appreciation over time. So you have more equity, more passive income. It could reduce your taxes with the real estate benefits. So many. So, I mean, what isn't it amazing? So tell me, what
it really is.
To conclude, what's your recap? What are your thoughts? This is amazing.
I mean, just really everything you said. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of benefits. I think my husband and I, for years, had no tax write-offs. We had no, because there's two of us, one income, nothing to write off. So that's a huge benefit. And that was one of the things that we're looking forward to when we do our taxes this year, is getting the benefits. But long term, you just can't lose with property. I mean, you really can't. I think sometimes people will ask, well, what if the market turns? What if the market goes down? Well, the rent doesn't go down. The rent is still coming. And we have a buy and hold strategy. So again, it depends on what your strategy is. Ours is a buy and hold. So if we buy it at 60 and it goes down to 50, I don't care. It doesn't change the rent. And then eventually, if you hold it long enough, it will continue to go back up. So, historically, real estate everywhere continues to do that. So that's not a problem for us. But we have a buy and hold strategy. So I just think you can't lose. You just can't lose. But you have to be willing to step out and, as my husband said, pull the trigger. Because if you don't ever do that, what is it? Wayne Gretzky says you miss 100% of the shots that you never take. If you never take a shot, you never know if you're going to win it or, get it in the net or not.
Absolutely. Let me say one more thing. Right now, we're living in a very challenging environment, right? There's a lot of fears out there. There's a lot of, concerns out there, which is rightly so. I'm not going to discount that. But you can make the argument that the real estate portfolio that you guys are creating and progressing on, you could make the argument it is recession proof. It is is an inflation hedge, and is proof against any type of environment. So a lot of people have this fear of not getting to real estate right now because of the volatility of the interest rate, or the impending recession, or all the doom and gloom negative things that people come across during our unique times right now. So I know a lot of this kind of fear-based negative thinking are really is a very very decapitating, very negativity. So how are you because of your mindset? You guys have this proper attribute. What's the final parting words? What's your takeaway you want to impart on the audience that's watching our video? How do you try to encourage people to overcome this economic situation that we're seeing and still do the real estate investing in a way that you and I just been talking? What's your parting words on that?
Woo, that's a tough one because I think you just have to make it up in your mind that you're going to do it. You know, and there's risk in anything. If you invest in the stock market, there's risk in that. You know, but as I say, I think I did a calculated risk. We did a calculated risk because I did my homework. I knew what my goal was. I did my homework. We found the properties that worked and we just made the decision. And I will say this one thing too. People are all upset about the interest rates being at 7% or whatever. And something that you have taught us doing, and you've put it out in several of your videos. What did you say? You would date the interest rate and marry the property.
Right,
So
right.
you can always refinance the interest rate. If it were, I can see go down to 4% again or whatever, we can refinance it. So
Yep.
that's not even a concern or an issue for us. So I just think that you just have to get the right support, and it does help. You have been very supportive. Us hiring you to be our mentor, we have been paid back over and over and over again for the small fee that we paid you. We have been paid back over and over in the year and a half that we've made it, just in information alone. Whether we would have made a dollar or not, just in the information alone. But now we went from 0 properties to 6 properties in less than 2 years. That speaks for itself. That speaks for itself. So you just have to find a team that you trust. And we were able to find you. You were able to direct it to some amazing property teams out of state, and it just worked. So it's just, you just have to make the decision. I think once you make the decision, everything else will kind of line up.
That's right. Take the first step. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark, so what's your party words for your 20-minute exit speech? You always have some great things to say. Very inspirational, Mark.
Pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Caleb and his team, including Sea Wing, they operate with integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Pull the trigger. I can't even begin to tell you. I probably have to go get a calculator, but what we have paid out to Sea Wing, as far as him mentoring us, we've made that money back, and I just did it on the calculator. We've made that money back 114 times over.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Mm-hmm.
So you do the math. So, and I divided. So what we paid you, to mentor us 2 years ago, divided by our net worth.
Oh, there you go.
So 104. We've made what we've given you 114 times over in just under 2 years.
Right. Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to look at that. Yeah. That's a great way to look at that.
So, and I'm not really one for numbers or for math.
Like, how do you figure that out? Because I'm the numbers person.
Yeah. So,
great.
but it's worth it.
I've been rubbing off on you, honey.
Yeah, you have. I would take every dime, every nickel that I can possible and be putting it away. I'd be, every dime, whatever you got to cut out, cut it out. Whatever you have to cut off, cut it off. I would take every nickel, every dime that I can possible, and I would be saving it. And I would get mentored by Sea Wing, and I would continue to put away every dime, every nickel possible to get a down payment. Even if you started with the cheapest property on the list, get that property. It doesn't have to be a big property. It doesn't have to be a high dollar property. It doesn't have to. If all you can afford is the cheapest, if that's as far as you can reach, fine. Then get that. Get that. It's a property. It's going to go up in equity, and and someone is going to pay rent to pay that property off. Keep saving, and then get another one, you know, and that's all that we've been doing. I think it's a mindset change too. I went out and I don't have a lot of time to read books, so I got this audio, I guess, where I listen to books. I got Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I got The Richest Man in Babylon. And I say that to say this because my mindset has had to change, because I was always thinking, if I could just make more money, if I could just make more money, if I could just make more money, you know, if I could just get a raise, if I could just make $100,000 a year, if I could just make more, you know. And it's not about making more, it's about being responsible with what you make and how you utilize what you make. And my wife has already understood this, but I didn't understand it. And now that I'm older, my mindset is, holy smokes, I've been working a long time and I'm getting tired. So how long can I keep up the rat race? So I'm having to work smarter now, you know, and working smarter, it pays off. It really does. It really does.
Wow. Well said. This is amazing speech, amazing, inspirational. So I'm really all choked up. So makes me have a purpose on this earth to make a difference in people's financial lives. You know, if I could help one people, is worth it, and I'm helping you guys. So it's really it's really I'm all choked up. So thank you so much for your kind words. This journey will continue, and
absolutely,
your time, and you know, for people that watch our video, hopefully, you know, Julie and Mark can inspire the rest of you out there who are on the fence, who are on the sideline, to go ahead and take the plunge, and just do it, baby, and things will work out. All right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yep. Your journalistic journey will continue.
Absolutely.
We will come back to do another update on what you guys are up to. Very, very exciting. Really, it's a blessing working with you guys, and appreciate everything. So thank you so much, and
thank you.
Have a nice day. Thank you so much. This is Si Wing Yi and Julie and Mark. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you so much, Si Wing. Appreciate all your help.
Yep. Bye bye.
Thank you, Si Wing.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.